Good evening, professor and classmates. My name is Guadalupe Castellanos, and for my project, I did research on homelessness. I currently live in Monterey County in a small town called Salinas, California, which is about an hour down south from San Jose. And I grew up in Salinas. Since I was 10, I lived here. I went to school here, and throughout time, I've only seen more and more homeless people out on the street. And I think what really caught my attention, what made me decide that I wanted to do this research project on was because every time I came home from my commute, I would always see homeless people on the side of the freeway asking for money. And that really struck a nerve in a sense because we live in the richest country in the world, and yet there's a lot of homelessness happening in our backyard everywhere that we live essentially. There's a free area and homeless people just camp out there, and that's their home. And for this research, I really took it personal because my grandpa once upon a time was homeless when he came to the country. So it's really close to home, and I think it's a problem that's only continuing to grow over time. I don't think there's anything strong or any strong campaigns that are happening right now where we live to address the issue. And I think coming out of COVID, during the COVID is, imagine that we know what's going on around the world, but imagine homeless people that have absolutely no contact, right? From one day to the next, there's no people out on the street. They can't eat. How are they going to survive, right? So I think this is the reason why I picked my topic on homelessness. And for my research brief, I spoke about the statistics of, growing statistics of homeless people in Monterey County. And I'm just going to read off some very key numbers that are a bit scary, especially because Monterey County, it's a big county, but Salinas in particular, it's not that big. So overall Monterey County in 2019, based on point in time numbers, there's over 2,300 people experiencing homelessness. And that number only grew to 2021 with over 2,384 people to be specific, and out of which 1,291 people are actually homeless, right? They don't have a place to live. It's just they're not sheltered. I know there's a lot of resources out there for shelter, but again, I don't think that outreach is being, reached out to the people that are actually affected by this issue. So what I spoke about in my research brief is about three root causes of this problem. Number one is affordable housing. Number two, poverty and economic inequality. And number three, systematic concerns. And just to touch base on each point very briefly, affordable housing, I mean, Monterey County, and I want to just say any county in California, housing is not affordable. I know a lot of people, compared to the Bay, definitely way out of the picture. Rates out in the Bay, $2,300, $2,700, the cheapest place for, for a studio or one bedroom. Here in Salinas, it's not a city. It's a bit of a town. So housing isn't affordable here. And I think one of the main reasons for that is that a lot of people are, living out in the outskirts and commuting to work, out in the Bay where there's, more jobs in tech, construction, and, all those sorts of things that people really just tend to find the best way to, live. However, that's affecting us because all the prices are just skyrocketing, and in terms of housing and having affordable housing for these people. Salinas is mainly a farm town, so most of the people here live off the land, and they're seasonal jobs, right? So when the season's over, crops are growing somewhere else, they move and come back, and sometimes, $500 a week isn't enough to pay for rent. So it's a concern with regards to affordable housing. The second point is poverty and economic inequality. Again, this kind of leads on to systematic concerns, and those two are a bit tied together because Salinas is mainly, or Monterey County, I want to say, people live off the land, and most of the people that live here are, Hispanics, Mexicans that live here, and they work. from the land, like in the strawberries or picking lettuce. So most of those jobs are uh, farm work jobs. So with that, they're not getting paid what is right. They're overworked and underpaid. And most of these people are illegal immigrants that can't really afford to have a word. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of unions out there. There is a lot of, help that, to ensure that these farm workers are having the rights defended. And unfortunately, that's not the case because most of these people really rely on that job. So if they complain about any, abuse or being, a racial concern or just anything, they're out of a job. So I think that's definitely, both of those are very tied together in regards to why people end up being homeless in Monterey County. Moving on to three policy solutions that I would, suggest to address this problem. Number one is creating affordable housing. There's a lot of things that I touched up on my research brief that I don't want to go too deep into. Just the gist of it, the summary is we have to incentivize these companies that are building affordable housing for these people. And how do we do that? We can, somehow tell them, hey, we're going to give you a tax break or something to allow, these people for you to create affordable housing for them. And just recently, actually in Monterey County and Salinas specifically, there was this owner that's actually was caught, that he had this property and he essentially made illegal housing for, farm workers. And most of these people didn't even have like reliable source of water or essential like needs like going to the bathroom. So he was caught doing this illegally where these people were living under, not very right or clean environment, but that's all they had, right? That's all they have and that's all they can afford. So there's a lot of issues with that too, creating affordable housing that is legal. And also with affordable housing comes a problem of we need you to be a citizen. We need you to be an American citizen or a resident or have a legal status, in which case Salinas is definitely, Salinas is predominantly farm workers who are unfortunately illegal in the country. And it's very hard for them to be able to even live, right? Nevertheless work. So I think creating affordable housing is it's a bit of a challenge on its own with accepting people to actually, be able to live in affordable housing when they have all these prerequisites they need to meet to be able to have a home. So with that, I suggested the House First, which is an act. It's a model that provides stable and permanent housing quickly as possible without requesting individuals to complete certain milestones or address other issues such as addiction or mental health. So sometimes when being able to get a home, you have to go through like a background check, right? Or community service. And this is kind of a way to allow people to be able to find a home before they achieve those milestones. The third solution is to increase funding for homeless prevention programs. I actually, in one of my, take actions that I did was reach out to Monterey County and the representatives, because I believe that through doing that, I would reach out to more people, right? As opposed to only one representative, government official, in the county of Monterey. I was able to reach multiple ones. And it was a bit of a mistake on my part because I feel like my email just kind of jumped from person to person to person. However, I did think I got the best outreach that I could. So creating affordable housing, I do believe there's a lot of programs out there that are definitely helping out, providing resources and helping homeless people be able to get a job or a shelter. However, I don't think the outreach is being done. I don't think there's outreach out there that physically, you have someone out there hanging out pamphlets or just, telling them, giving them directions. This is where you can go to find resources. Here's where you can go to be able to, better your case, your situation. So I don't think that outreach is being done in regards to, we can have all the funding, but who's doing all the outreach, right? So that's one of the actions that I took, and which leads to the solution here in increasing funding for homeless prevention programs. Another thing that I did, I didn't think that my first approach was very successful. So for my second approach, I actually wrote a letter to the sheriff, the Salinas sheriff, because most of, the people that have any kind of contact with homeless people are cops, right? Cops are the ones that are out here, just dismantling their shelter, their home, moving them from one place to another, kind of gentrifying homelessness. I notice that a lot too. I know we talk about gentrification a lot in, so in society and how unjust the system is, but there is also gentrification happening with homeless encampments. We want to keep them in the east side. We want to make sure that they move over there. So what do they do? The more wealthier areas of any town or any city are, homeless proof, they are homeless architecture. I don't know if you have seen them, but there's a lot of things that kind of kick the homeless people out to the east side, where, they don't get disturbed, or there's a free area that happens to be on the east side where all the homeless people are going. So coincidence? Anyway, um, to keep going, I don't want to get off topic too much, but I reached out to the sheriff, the Salinas police sheriff, and I sent him an email about educating your cops, getting them trained and telling them, hey, when you see a homeless people, whoever shift might be, who rotation processes they have, do they know that there's resources out there that homeless people can take advantage of? Is there, there's programs, there's shelters, there's a lot of things that you can tell, you can provide those resources to the homeless people instead of just, hey, you got to move out. So I reached out to him. Unfortunately, I have not gotten a response. It's been well over a month or so. I did get an immediate response from the Monterey County. So I was very happy about that. And they do say that they're working on outreach programs. And to be quite honest, I offered to help. I offered to volunteer. I've always been very passionate about, if everything has its right place and you see tons of Amazon finds on how to better organize your life, why can't we do the same thing with people? People have the right, they belong somewhere. There's always a place for everyone, not just everything. So I got a response back from them. But moving on to the police sheriff, I didn't get a response, which is very unfortunate, to be able to not get a response. And I don't know if that actually reached out to who I wanted it to reach out, or if he even saw it and just disregarded it. However, I do have the intentions of continuing my outreach. I think outreach is really important. I think there could be tons of funding, but if no one's doing any outreach, they're not really going to know where the resources are. So this is what my project was based off: homelessness. And I do want to encourage everybody to, don't disregard homeless people. When you have the chance, if you have the opportunity and you know of any resources yourself that might be able to help anybody, telling them of a shelter, telling them of a food bank, whatever the case might be, I think it's really important that we all work together into the right, in the right direction to be able to minimize the amount of homeless people. They're in our backyard, they're there, they're people, they're human, they feel. And I think it's really important that we take that step forward as a society to be able to live in the country as, and I'm sorry, in the richest country in the world, and be able to say, our homelessness numbers are dropping and they're going down. And I think that's all I have for this presentation. I apologize if it went off a little bit further than I anticipated, but I just want to take the time to share my citations with everyone regarding this work and my research. If anybody is interested in finding more about homelessness and how you can help, please feel free to send me a message on Canvas. I would be more than happy to work with you and be able to come up with a solution on homelessness. Thank you so much for taking the time. Sorry, let me start from the beginning up here. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being in this class, and I really hope that this video is an inspiration and hopefully is willing to inspire someone to take a step in the right direction to address homelessness. Thanks.